you're having a good day. It is the end of February. My rain trees are growing like crazy. Of course, with one this size, you know, sometimes 90% of the idea is just let it grow, let it thicken up with the trunk, let it turn into something. But I had an idea as I passed it the other day, and I think I'm going to go ahead and go through with it now. And get some wire on these lower branches. And I think with wire on there, you can't really bend it all that well just by hand, but I think with wire on there to support itself, I think I can get them out fairly flat, and then go ahead and take most of the apex off and just allow the lower part to grow a little bit more rather than trying to get it super tall. I really don't want a very tall tree. So let's see what I can do here. Just recently, the last time I chopped it here, and then you can probably see where I chopped it right about in there. As you guys see, I actually do think that's the better looking side. Kind of forgot to spin it around there for you guys to look at. So from there back to the trunk is some fairly lignified wood. If you get it when it's, you know, new shoots like these, they're really flexible. So I do have slightly heavier wire than I would usually use for shoots this big, just because of how lignified the one part of it there is. I think all I want to do is get the wire on the lignified part. Try to wire this somewhat loose. And I just actually kind of go between the thorns. Some people cut the thorns off. Now I can tell, I don't know if you guys could tell, but when I was testing that to see how flexible it was, it's really kind of hard to do by hand, but once you have wire on there, it really does hold a lot better. I've noticed the wire cuts in really quick on these rain trees, so I did leave it nice and loose. And then, generally speaking, I really don't try to get a whole lot of movement out of them. So they will kind of get their own movement by clip and grow. But this one's long enough. Got a little extra wiggle in there. This one I just want to get down. The main thing that I feel like rain trees need help with is keeping all the shoots from just going straight up. I'm gonna go down. This is where, right there is where it was chopped at the last time. And I'm actually gonna go just below that. There's a nice little shoot there. And hopefully that'll cause some growth coming out this way. And just with that extra loss of foliage there, should allow that to kind of work out a little bit better. And what I'll do is just hang on to this and come back and revisit it in probably a month or so. All right, and here we are. It's been about a month. It's actually just one day short of a month. That was February 25th. Today is March 24th. Plenty of growth. I'd consider letting it go a little bit longer, maybe if it was the rainy season, the dry season. And I mean, the tips are getting almost kind of burned up looking at the end of the day. And sometimes I even got to remind myself that I just repotted this guy in January. You know, I don't really want it to have, I noticed that when they start getting extremities like this, kind of almost like a person where your fingers get cold or your toes get cold. I feel like these guys way out here, sometimes they start getting a little burned up at the end of the day. Just not enough protection, you know, close enough to the rest of the tree. You know, maybe it has a hard problem moving water down there. It is amazing though how, you know, this is, we're right around noon now today, but how much healthier it looks again in the morning. These really actually looked like they were just about to catch fire last night. This side here, I had it wired right up to there, and my plan is to actually kind of let it grow into the wire. You guys probably can't see, I got a little bit of side to side movement in it. And then, you know, this was just kind of sticking straight up. So I've got it held down pretty good. And I'm going to go ahead and cut this guy off just right at the end of where the wire goes there. And then on this side, I'm going to do the same thing, except here, because I'm going to go ahead and keep this little one here. This is new. This is actually a new branch sprouted from here, made it out to here in just that 1 month. I'm going to cut it at the end of the wire, but I do know that there's a node pointing away from that branch. So I'd like to keep these two branches going away from each other if I could. That momentum will really allow that one to go. This is the slightly lower branch, so I wouldn't mind it if this side got like a little more girth to it than this one did, as it does start a little lower on the tree than this one does. And then I was going to adjust the wire a little bit. I think this one I can leave alone, maybe get a little more movement in it. The idea was I could actually let it grow, like I said, into it. And then on this one here, I avoided this node and thorn there, and I noticed that it's like a little on the loose side there. I did purposely leave it loose. I leave them loose to both avoid the thorns and also just because of how quick it grows. And then go ahead. Really wasn't anything wrong with the direction I had it or anything. It just had a big gap there. And then since that became such a branch there, go ahead and just point that away from that a little bit. And then I'm going to bring the top just right on down to this node right here. Alright, that should do pretty well for about probably just another month or so. I'm going to go ahead and trim the other ones. Alright, and then there's this one. That last tray I just worked on was actually broken off of this stump right here. I broke a piece off of this side and this side. This one lived. I am trying to keep this branch as a sacrifice. And then actually right here where that wound was, where I cut that one off, got a little sprout there. And I'm going to leave that just at least until it closes that wound. I'd like to keep this branch long enough. I don't know if you guys, I'll give you guys a closer look towards the end after I prune it down and can get a little bit closer in here. But there's some dead wood there, and it's a little bit of a knot on the trunk. So I'm trying to make it to where below that is at least fatter than that. It may very well kind of reject it. I've seen ficus kind of reject some dead wood after a little while. There is that dead wood chunk right there. Hard to believe these all came from the same mother tree. I've got now 5 of them. And the first one, I was just going to buy the one, and I promised myself I was going to keep it clip and grow and try to make a flat top out of it. And now I've wired 3 of them, and I may even wind up getting a little wire on the next one I'm doing today. But for right now, I'm just going to kind of decide where it is I'm cutting it back to. Right now, I'm going to go around maybe a little conservative to what I'd really like to do, but it'll be pretty close. But at least if it's a little conservative, I can always go back a little bit further if I want to. This isn't in the greatest of positions for a design of the tree, but it is right next to that dead wood, and I'd like to keep as much life as there as I could, because I don't want that falling away and creating a gap in the trunk or anything there. So I'm just going to kind of go back, keep them directionally pruned away from each other. Hopefully that one gets a sprout that way and that one gets a sprout that way. Last chop was here and here. Just go like 2 nodes up from there. Actually, it's almost kind of like a node and a half up from there. Always try to leave a little bit of room for dieback. Same thing on this group here. Just going to go to the last chop mark there. Come up a bit from it. This piece right here on my sacrifice branch is going right into the tree. And take that out, I don't really need that. I think I'll leave that one on there. I do want to leave as much girth on there as I can, but I also don't really want to get entangled up with the rest of the tree. There. These 2 pieces here are actually kind of getting out of pocket. I might take these back a little bit further than I usually would. They're coming out a little bit too strong, I think, for how skinny they are. If that, I left 2 nodes on both of them though, and if they don't die all the way back, that might be some stuff I can keep eventually, but it was kind of growing a little bit too quick there for their size. Alright, and give you guys a little bit of a better look here. So glad it did sprout this branch down here. This is going to be a bit of a bulge there, a little bit of a reverse taper problem. With both of these branches now below that, really do hope that it can achieve what I want. Thought about trying to prune off some of that extra growth here as it's just kind of getting in the way, but I do want as many leaves coming out of there as I can, thicken that up as much as I can. I'm imagining I would like to use that dead wood on the other side as kind of a feature, so I imagine this would probably be the back of the tree. This will have this kind of a scar down here either way. It already has one there. I've actually kind of been picturing this as being about the front. There's that little piece of dead stuff there. My eyes are so poor, it's hard for me to tell what it is I can see on that screen as compared to when I finally do edit the video up. I have it tied down on that piece of dead wood, but that was where the failed air layer was. This was a failed air layer. I took it off, and then it just kind of became a cutting as I realized it did have a little bit of life left into it. And then that's pretty much like what's causing the bulge there too. So that's the sacrifice branch there. Alright, and the last one I'm going to do today is this guy here. I think this is the one I'm finally going to go ahead and try to turn into a little bit of a flat top. I mean, that's actually what I've had in mind as I've been pruning it along. This is the first cutting I ever got to take, and I can always start over if I need to or anything like that. I watched a few videos with flat tops or Pruning. It's free material, so, you know, if I screwed up, I screwed up. I've decided which branches I'm going to try to do away with here. Basically, I'm taking out anything that's growing into the middle. And not forming any part of a outer canopy there. And then also this branch here I think is a little bit too low to really have any redeeming qualities there. And then I've been really just trying to struggle along with whether or not I want to try to clip and grow this flat top, or if I want to try to wire it up. These two branches right here, they're kind of small. I hate wiring things that are that small, but they're actually kind of growing into these two. I mean, the other thing that I could do is maybe take these two and wire them away from it a little bit. And then this one is actually kind of caught up in this other one here. You know, could I get a little more movement to it? I'm going to take a minute and I'm going to think about that for a second here. Well, due to a ton of indecisiveness, that took me a lot longer than I really wanted it to, but wound up wiring almost everything. At first, these two branches here, this one was kind of growing into this, and this one was growing in over here. So what I did is I actually took one wire up this branch and up this branch, got some movement in this branch, actually got it away from this one a little bit, took this one, pulled it away from there. And then I kind of noticed that these two branches, or that these two were kind of coming over here a little bit. This one was going down a little more than I wanted to. So I got some wire on that. And then, even though I'd only really started out to put just wire on those two there, I figured these here could join in the party, got a lot of movement in there. And good thing it's an experiment, we'll just see how it turns out. Kind of wish I would have went with the plan of trying to get wire on every one of them, because now I've just got this one, and then this one over here with no wire on it. But we'll, you know, I check it often. I can always adjust the wires. I can always add some. We'll see what it looks like in a few months.